A girl and her parents are taken hostage and are deemed with an impossible choice to possibly save the world. We're talking movies, we're talking Knock at the Cabin, starring Dave Bautista, Jonathan Groff, and Ben Ulrich. Based on the book The Cabin at the End of the World by Paul Tremblay, written by Steve Desmond, Michael Sherman, and M. Night Shyamalan, who also directed. You've done nothing wrong to deserve this burden. You're just the family chosen to decide for us in this time.
Go fuck yourself, Mr. Rogers.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of How'd You Like That Movie? As Scott said, we're going to be talking Knock at the Cabin by M. Night Shyamalan Ding Dong. So, Scott, take us away.
What the fuck? Come on, you have to say his name right. Like, that's fucking disrespect.
Does anybody really get his name right? Isn't that kind of what we
Shyamalan.
do? Yeah, Shyamalan Ding Dong.
Okay, whatever.
So take us away,
right.
Scott. Do it.
Yeah.
Do
all right.
thing.
So I'll be honest. Okay, so I didn't have much expectations going into this movie at all. Because with M. Night's films, there've been a lot more miss than hit lately. But I think that's what made this movie work for me, because I didn't expect much.
Oh, because you had lower expectations.
Just like every one of your dates.
100%, 100%, man.
But yeah,
set the bar low. Set the bar low.
It's a good small claustrophobic film, and I think I think
it would have worked better if it was a little more claustrophobic. But go ahead.
Okay, but I think the incorporation of the Dutch angle, especially when Bautista is speaking, helps puts everything off kilter.
Yeah, I did enjoy the slight Dutching of those angles.
But yeah, I think the thing that they did, or he did well, is there's enough incorporated in this film that you see both sides of the arguments, and it really puts you on the fence, kind of, at least it did with me towards the end, on, are these people for real? Like, what they're saying is actually true, or have they really fallen into a huge fucking internet rabbit hole that they can't comprehend that it's all fake?
And being an M. Night Shyamalan film, there is that expectation. If this was a different director, you wouldn't get quite as much of that tension, because they were not there. Like, he is definitely known for having that ending that you think is going to be like supernatural, and then it's not, or he definitely used to be. Well, or sometimes it is supernatural, but like the idea is like he's always, especially in his early days, was very good about like keeping you off kilter.
What a twist!
Yeah, I think that's what kind of worked. Now, like I said in the intro, this is based on the book A Cabin at the End of the World.
Yep.
And that book, like, the reason why these two, the book and the film, don't have the same title is because the second half of this movie deviates from the book. So when doing the research, it's actually kind of interesting, because the book actually has the ending you kind of were expecting for this film.
Mm-hmm.
So, and in terms of the Rotten Tomatoes of this movie, it's 67 critic, 63 audience, and I actually went in and looked, and in terms of the audience, the complaint is pretty much the same for everything. The fact that, it's an M. Shyamalan, M. Now you got me fucked up with this name. Well, it's an M. Night film, and there is no, like, spoilers, there is no twist ending. This is a standard, typical movie ending.
What the fuck?
There's no, like, he keeps you, I think, on the edge of your seat for the end. Like they're going into that diner and you're expecting this twist, but it's literally just them driving off.
Congratulations. Have a great day.
Yeah, it's just them driving off into the sunset, right? And then a nice fade to black ending. There's no Meet Joe Black ending. There's no Drag Me to Hell ending. It's just a typical movie ending. And I think that's, in terms of the audience scores at least, is what's kind of, you know, I wouldn't say giving people a bad taste in their mouth, but, you know, they don't know kind of what to do with it.
We are not amused.
Well, and some of the reading I did as well. So this had an R rating, but supposedly the book is much more violent, like much more violent. And I'm assuming what that would be is the description of the kills in the house, which he, for the most part, doesn't. I think other than the first one, like you really don't see. They often cut away, right?
Well, even the first one they cut away, right? You just see the blood trickling on the back of his head.
That's
from what
right.
I remember.
Right. Yeah. You don't actually see them actually hit him.
No.
So how do you feel about that? I mean, so there's that school of thought, like the mind is more violent than anything you're going to show. So you cut away and you let the audience create its own imagery. Do you think that was effective, or would you like to see some like fucking brains splattered against the wall?
No, I think in terms of this film, you know, it's like it was a $20 million budget, and I'm assuming most of it went to the actors in general.
Yeah, I wonder what Rupert Grint is like what his rate is. He obviously everybody knows him from Harry Potter. He's been on The Servant, which is, I think the first episode was directed on Apple, and it might even be produced by M.
Yeah, it's one of his shows. Yeah,
it's one of his shows. Yeah, I wonder what his rate is. Like, he's not really an A-list actor anymore, but he is very famous. And I'd actually like to know what Dave Bautista is up to now.
Well, yeah, I know in terms of like again doing the research, M. Night went to Bautista because reading the book, he was like, it's an impossible role. It's a giant who can emote feelings and have to do 30 pages of dialogue. And he didn't think the person existed. But
I mean,
you know,
what's his name from The Green Mile would have been definitely a go-to if he was still alive.
Oh, Michael Clark.
Yeah.
Duncan. Yeah, maybe. But I think as well, you know, a little can thanks to Canadian director Denis Villeneuve. M. Night saw Bautista scene in Blade Runner 2049, and that's what made him think he can do this. And they met, and he was like, and that's the thing, that it seems like Bautista was just like, even though, you know, he has the notoriety and he has, I would say, the success, especially with the Marvel movies, he was just like, I just want to start over, like just take the, you know, the fame away and, you know, just build me up on how you want this character to be. And that's what got them to get the part. And I think his portrayal is like one of the strongest, because you actually feel the what's the word I'm looking for?
The conflict. And,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
the
like
conflict that he's going
internal
through.
strife and all those types of things. Yeah, his performance, and we can talk about that more in a sec. His performance is one of the anchors of this film. You know, there's kind of like three, and correct me if I'm wrong, you and your kids watch more WWE, and that, or I think it's your cousins actually that watch WWE, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so to me, there's like kind of three really famous dudes. There's Dave Bautista. There's Michael Cena. Is it Cena or Sarah?
John.
It's not Michael. No, not this one. John. And then there's obviously The Rock. And on that spectrum, it's like The Rock continues to just be The Rock, right? Like he basically plays The Rock in the films. He's not allowed to die. He's not allowed to get, you know, lose a fight. John Cena is in the middle. He's, you know, very good at self-deprecating humor and stuff. He's a great comedic actor. But I would say that Dave Bautista is the only one that really wants to be like an actor, like a fully complete, you know, three-dimensional actor. And I think that, yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I believe that's what he spoke about as well, especially when he retired or whatever, like quit wrestling and went into acting. Um, he didn't want to be The Rock, right? He actually wanted the dramatic roles, and actually wanted to be considered an actor, not an action star. And I think that's what he's chosen, and that's the path he's gone with. And I think the success of the first Guardians movie and his portrayal in Drax, it has helped with that, because it does give him now some gravitas that he can do some of these smaller movies, or take more chances, because technically, even though he says he's retired from Guardians, a couple of these fail. It's like, hey, I'm in for Guardians 4, guys. James, write me a script.
Yeah, and I mean, he's got, definitely the financial security. He did well in Dune, you know what I mean? But I would actually say that, like, that Blade Runner 2049, like, he's not in it very long, but it's essentially a monologue, right? Like, he's and it's he gets the, he does a bit of fighting and stuff like that, but you do get to see him showcase some acting chops. So I wish him nothing but the best. I hope that he continues to get those dramatic roles, because he clearly wants them and he's doing the work. So, and yeah, in this film, there are a lot of, like, little challenges and problems as far as some plot holes and some kind of ridiculous actions some of the characters make, but he is not one of them. Like, right from the very beginning, and, like, there is good tension. Like, the opening scene of this, the first 10 minutes, when he's talking with the young girl and they're catching grasshoppers or whatever, I kept waiting for him to just, like, snap her neck or something. You know what I mean? Like, you're waiting for that, like, because especially when he says the line, like, something like, I really hate what I'm gonna have to do, or something like that, and you're like, here it comes. It's gonna squish this kid's head like a grape. You know what I mean? So
yeah, no, it was done very well. And I think the fact that it was never over, like, you don't see him screaming, like, you don't, right? Everything's like somber, like, everything's like trying to reason with, like, even like one of my favorite scenes is when they have the escape and the fight, and then he's in front of Jonathan Goss, and he's just holding his thing in front of him, and he's like, I'm so sorry, like, everything you guys been through. And it seems like he's, like, almost crying and everything in terms of that, right? Like, I think that was my favorite scene. But you're talking about plot holes.
Everything with that fucking handgun was, like, needed to be rewritten. Like, just like, okay, so spoilers if you haven't seen it, just because I want to talk through this bit. But he runs out of the house. He clearly knows there are fucking people behind. Actually, we could even roll it back before that, when, like, there's the, like, crazy shit that's happening that, like, gets him to run to the house. Nobody, like, that whole shot takes, like, way too long. Like, they're focused forward, and it doesn't happen instantaneously. It's like he's like walking out of the house.
Well, I think it was because I'm assuming there's a medical term, but him being tied up in that chair for 2 days probably has something to do with his blood circulating, that he couldn't really.
No, I don't mean the fact that he didn't run, but the idea that, like, literally in one room, and I'm keeping people hostage, and a kid starts screaming, the other guy falls over, and I just, like, basically totally forget that there's another person in the room. Anyway, so then he gets out, and he's like, he's making his way to the truck. Also, never chooses to look behind him to make sure that, like, I don't know, one of the other people fucking doesn't run after him. And then the whole getting the gun, where she's basically, first off, fucking that SUV has some seriously strong windows that she's, like, banging away on it and can't get in, while he fumbles with his, like, 9mm or whatever. Also, just put one round in, shoot the fucking bitch, then load up your magazine. Like, there was a lot of that stuff that I think could have been tightened up, maybe just made, like, a little bit.
Well, if he did that, he would have been fucked, right? Because didn't the gun misfire on the first shot, like, close range?
Well,
or he missed?
Well, don't miss. Like, come on, like, fucking, it's right there. Like, it's right there. Like, a handgun is still good for like 40 yards, 30 yards, right? Like fucking the chick's right in front of you. If you can't hit her, maybe you deserve to get chopped up in your truck.
Yeah,
Anyway.
I know what you're saying. Like my issue with that scene was after the gunfire, she runs away, and then she's like it seems like she gave up. She was like, fuck this, and she runs away. Only to run straight at him again, screaming.
And then she gets shot.
Yeah, then she gets shot. That was the thing. I'm like, all right.
And then as soon as that firearm came into the house, shit's over, man. Like he should have just walked in there and been like no conversation, bang bang, Baptista done. Like fuck, double tap that shit. Like,
well,
and yeah.
Here's my issue with it. So an hour and 20 minutes in, they've been locked in this room, and in reality, at no point have they ever tried to hurt these people, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just them literally watching them technically commit suicide.
Yep.
So they get the gun to put him in a room that, you know, he technically can commit suicide.
Yeah.
It's just like, you know, that was my thing. And then, you know, the fight in the shower, I'm like, okay, this also makes no sense, because especially when you look at Batista and you look at that mirror, I'm like, or that window, I'm like, yeah, there's no way he
That's what I said too. I was like, I saw that window and I was like, that motherfucker is in the shower. So just blast that fucking shower. Bam, 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 bam. Or just fucking leave him in there and get the fuck out of Dodge. Like
you should have been like, I forgot how small that window was. Like, lock the door. All right, let's go. Let's go find their truck.
The one thing this film had definitely going for it though was the cinematography. And the DOP is Jared Blashkank or Blanche. So he's basically Robert Eggers' guy. So he did The Witch, he did The Lighthouse, he did Northman, Nosferatu, which is in post-production. And yeah, like I love the cinematography. I thought it was really well done. It wasn't super complicated, really well structured, you know, stylized, but appropriately. That part looked really good. Some of the stuff at the beginning, again, with the grasshoppers and like just the way the glass bottle is moved into the little girl's face. And so it kind of distorts stuff. Like there's definitely some good aesthetic going on. So, you know, this film wasn't bad. It just was sort of like, meh. You know what I mean? Like you're like, it was okay. You know, I mean, it was like porridge. Like there was nothing exciting about it. There was some decent tension at the beginning, but I felt like once the film like kind of started moving through its process, I almost would have liked more cutaway. And I guess this is why they didn't do it, because they want to, you know, try and keep some mystique around the attackers or whatever. Is, you know, some of that B storyline that they're doing with the, you know, the two men, I would have liked to see that there, because them killing them, if I don't like a character saying like, I have a child, and half the room not believing it and then getting killed, you're like, you're not invested. So the more you could have like humanized and made three-dimensional like characters or people out of those characters.
I get what you're saying, but I'm gonna have to disagree with it. I think I'm saying why I'm saying that is because the whole point of the movie is you don't know if they're telling the truth or not, right? And you don't find out they're telling the truth until the ending, right? Like, you don't find out their story until the ending, once they actually go into that pickup truck they find.
Sure.
Right. So if you see that.
But the problem with that is that then you don't give a shit that they're dying. Like if there's no.
Yeah, I think it's the after effect, because it's the after effect of the couple's choice, like the family's choices. Like, holy shit. Like, spoiler, she did have a son. Right. And he was like, I don't give a shit because I know she's lying. Right. He even says that. Right. Like, I don't believe for a second. And then he sees the picture of her with the son. Right. And that's the thing. His choices technically is what led to these deaths. And then to realize, like, technically, I know it gives that kind of regret. Like, fuck, if we just made the choice at the beginning, kind of thing, right?
Okay, so my quote is from Charlotte O'Sullivan from the London Evening Standard, and she says there's so many plot holes. The deeper issue, though, is that the supposedly complex home invaders aren't given enough space to become interesting. So even if we're not going to cut away and do backstory, you can create some humanity and some character development in the room We're in the room where it happens, the room where it
Mhm.
happens. You know, that's a little just because we've got Jonathan Groff, we've got to do a little Hamilton there.
So okay, sure. But do you think that's kind of based on the time length of this movie? Because it's just what just under 2 hours, right?
Yeah,
It's
it's
like an
100 minutes,
hour.
right? So it's just over an hour and a half, basically. Which I
Yeah.
thought, I
So
thought, I thought the timeline was fine. So then what you do is maybe like,
you could have cut out M. Night as a air fryer guy and had a
oh, I
little
saw that. Yeah,
backstory.
listen,
Yeah.
I always think that's clever. I like the idea of the director being like the guy, the waiter that brings like a cup of coffee or something like that. I think you could have developed it a little bit more just by maybe one of them goes out to like have a smoke, and so another character comes out, and you just get some interaction that's like separate from the main event, like so that you can get some type of sense of like who these characters are even in that place. It just felt very sterile, especially because essentially they're all in the same room for the like most of the film until they commit suicide, right? So
Mhm. Yeah.
yeah,
Now
yeah,
I got a question for you.
uh-huh.
So this is M. Night, even though there wasn't any twist, but let's pretend there was a twist. What's your like 5 favorite twists? It doesn't have to be top 5, but just like what are 5 twists in films you like?
Okay, so just so our audience doesn't think that I'm able to rattle these off, Scott actually told me he was going to do this, and I was like, "Fucking idiot!" Like, I don't watch a lot of films. I didn't think I watched a lot of films that had twist endings, and then I tried to do just like some basically like what films have like crazy endings, and then I could see if I'd seen some, and then I realized like there's actually a few that I consider great films that have this. So I'll start with Mr. Shyamalans. I saw it obviously Sixth Sense.
Mhm.
I don't care what you said. Nobody fucking knew he's seeing dead people. I definitely did not know he was seeing dead people, especially because I would have been younger at the time. Also, The Village. Again, people are like, "Oh, I fucking knew that." I'm like, "Yeah, fuck that shit, man." Until she went over the like wall and there's like a major roadway there, I 100% thought it was like old timey times, right? And at that point too, like I wasn't as familiar with M. Night's work, so that you were like looking for that. You're just like, this is a creepy little like almost like The
Mhm.
Witch, but The Witch is set in Puritan times.
Mhm.
With The Village, you're like, okay, so this is a period piece. And then you're like, no, it is not. That was kind of crazy. Do you want me to just keep going and do my whole list, or
You can do your 5. I'll do my 5 after. So far,
uh
we've deviated on one.
we've deviated?
Yeah, I don't have The Village on
Oh,
mine.
The Others with Nicole Kidman.
That's a good one. Yeah.
That's a
Yeah.
fucking great one. One that we've done on our show is one of our first episodes is Vertigo. Like that, and like finding out that she was like the original, kind of side chick that was used to
Yeah.
like do the whole thing. That took me obviously, and then the other two big ones are Fight Club and The Usual Suspects.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I got Psycho for mine. Finding
Oh
out
yeah, yeah,
Norman
yeah. So we
Bates'
both got a
mother.
Hitchcock on there.
Planet of the Apes.
Oh,
Finding out
that's a good
it's
one too. You
fucking
blew it
in.
up, you damn
Yeah.
apes.
Um, I did have Usual Suspects, but I'll change it because you did it. Book of Eli. Finding out Denzel Washington was blind through the whole fucking movie.
Oh yeah, yeah. Empire Strikes Back, finding out that
No,
Vader is Luke's father.
no. I do have Edward because I did have Fight Club too, but I'll do another one. Edward Norton, fucking Primal Fear.
Oh yes, that. Oh, and the way I don't want to give it away. I know it's all the when he turns to Richard Gere and just does the like blah blah blah, and you're like, you motherfucker.
Yeah. I'm trying to think because I did have number 5 was Six Sense too for me, but I guess we can like again, it's no order, but and I did have Fight Club too, but yeah, I think they're and it's no particular. It's fucking good. I think that's what makes the movie, right? Like I think the watching Sixth Sense with somebody who's never watched Sixth Sense.
But you would also have to have never have heard. It's sort of like it's hard to do Fight Club because everybody's heard about like Tyler Durden, right? Or Durden.
Yeah, but like we
What
want
about
like
Atomic Blonde? Did you know that she was the
no, but
American?
No, she was the Russian. She was the
No,
Russian
she was working for
spy.
the CIA. The very last scene is her with John Goodman.
I thought she was the double
she was
agent.
she betrayed everybody and turned everybody over to the CIA.
Okay, sure. But yeah, that's a good one too. And then we have John Wick 4.
Yes. That was actually a cool ending. I like that ending. This film did 20 million, or sorry, it had a $20 million budget, which actually, considering like who's who in the zoo, like you said, like I'm sure so M. Night is the screenplay writer, he's the director, and he's the producer. So a lot of monies are going to him.
Yeah, I'd say in terms of if there's any fucking critique about his directing now, the one thing you can't critique is how fucking smart of a businessman he is, because he self-finances majority of all his movies, so all the monies with the profits go to him.
Yeah, and he has a loyal fan base, like people that will go watch his films because they're his films, and so he's almost like guaranteed the like at least return on investment, like at least the money comes back in, right?
Yeah.
Because it did 55 million against a $20 million budget. And again, even if we were to double, I don't feel like they blew $20 million on advertising for this film. If you had told me this was actually like an Amazon original or something like that, I would believe you. Like, I don't remember seeing a ton of marketing for it. So that 55 million though, like even that, like even 15 million on top of, a marketing budget, cash money in your pocket, bada boom, bada bing,
And if you think about it, this was the film that knocked off Avatar from number one.
Listen, but Avatar had been number one. Like, eventually, My Little Pony could have like kicked off Avatar. I get
right?
It. After 333 weeks at the top of the chart, you know what I mean?
No, I get what you're saying, but like, you wouldn't have kind of, if you had to put your money on anything, you probably wouldn't have put your money on this is the one that, once Avatar starts dying down, this is the one that's going to take it over, right? Because you probably would have thought it was Ant-Man. You probably would have thought it was, whatever other fucking movies came out during that time.
I would agree with that statement. I mean, listen, you got nothing better to do. It's on. I watched mine, I think, on Crave.
I watched mine on Prime.
Yeah, I can't remember. It was one of those two. So I paid, like, it was part of my subscription. It didn't cost me anything to watch it. It's fine. Like I said, if you like a little like thriller that's not too crazy, it's almost like so like, do you know what a 4-quadrant film is?
If you say it.
Like, so it's like 4 quadrants are like, it's like a, when you're looking at a script, male, female under 25, male, female over 25, right? Those are your 4 sections. It's kind of like your rom-coms or family friendly films. I was watching it and I'm like, this is definitely like a 3-quadrant film. Like, I could see like under 25 male and female, over 25 male for sure, and maybe female. But yeah, like, it's just from like a marketing standpoint, it's easy. It's not overly violent. There's enough tension in it. I think it's going to do probably really well on streaming service, actually.
No, I think it was number 1 on Prime Canada for a while. I don't know if it still is. No, I think right now it's the new Guy Ritchie one with Jake Gyllenhaal, The Covenant or whatever.
Yeah.
Lone Survivor, just
fucking
retitled.
The other side, yeah. And that was like basically like, I don't even think it got a release. I think it was a made for Amazon
this one's
film.
made, just like the Operation Fortune.
Yeah. Listen, Guy Ritchie, he's just like taking that Amazon money and putting it in the bank. So
might as well. I would do the same thing if they offered me money.
Hopefully they do soon.
And that is our wrap for the day. Please like and subscribe to this podcast. Tell your friends. If you want to get a hold of us, reach us at the www.howdyoulikethatmovie.com.
I mean, those lyrics to Madonna, Like a Prayer or whatever. What is it? Go ahead, sing it again.
Yeah. it brought me back to when we did Operation Fortune. You're like, how did she convince Guy Ritchie to make that the desert movie?
Castaway or Blown Away.
Yeah, I'm like, it
yeah.
was like that. She was like, Guy, it's like a little prayer. I'm down on my knees.
I'm gonna take you right there.
her.
Boom.
And then he was like, all right, I'll make the fucking movie.
Production by Rod Shaver, Vader Monkey Productions.